Ohai. Iasi, the city in Romania, the administrative center of Iasi Județ, the former capital of the Moldavian Principality, the center of the Western Moldova. According to a census of 2002, the population of Iasi made about 320,000 people. The second place in the country after Bucharest, but then decreased a little. According to a census of 2011, up to 290,422 people. The fourth place. By 2016, the population of the city grew to 362,142 people again. Geographical location. The city is located between the Iasi Ridge and the valley of the Iasi River, historically being at the intersection of the major tradeways. The city stands on 7 hills as Rome, Moscow and Istanbul. Names of hills: Cetăția Copa, Bucampion, Șoarga, the Galatian, Rapidia and Broaza. Through Iasi the river Bacli, inflow of the Iasi River flows. The climate is continental, damp, with warm summer and in the cold winter. On average in a year about 600 mm of rainfall drop out. From 25 mm in October up to 100 mm in June. Iasi named Sarmatian nation of Alan, which in the early Middle Ages were the nomadic people. According to Nicaphor Gregoris, having adopted Christianity, they settled in the Byzantine Empire. It is possible that Alana called the Prut River the Alania River. Iasi, the place of the bargaining of fans of wine. Iasi, as well as all Sarmatians, were skillful archers. In Hungarian the word Iasi is meant by archer. The story of temporary years and also the Novgorod Chronicle mention the name of the city. To Danube, Vidacheve hail, about said Molstone, Mdin. And about an the country Duna. Slows that the Sviatolis Friday. And across Danube, Dresden. Virenk Kilia. And on a mouth of Duna, the new village. Akaliakra. At the sea, Karna. It is artful. And on this party of Duna. On a mouth of Dniester over the sea, Belgrade, Iasi the bargaining on the Prokretes. Novels the bargaining on Moldova. In Mounts. Horokina fireplace. Sochiava. Sairit. Laugh. The town on Shermesh. On Dnisterhoten. And Bulgarski and Voloskia hail. Novgorod First Chronicle. Iasi together with the Bulgarian and Vlachsky cities are mentioned in the list of the Russian cities distant and near as the city which isn't a part of Kievan Rus. Population. According to data of a census of 2002, 320,888 people lived in the city. At the time Iasi were the second most populated city in Romania after Bucharest. Now the population decreases. As of 2002, 98.5% of the population Romanians, 0.59% Roma, on 0.13% Jews, Greeks and the Lipovana made, 0.08% Hungarians, 0.05% Germans and 0.39% other people. History. Iasi entered an area of culture of Tripoli, Cucutan.
In the neighborhood of the city, the artifacts speaking about accommodation of the Thracian and Sarmatian nations in these parts, both trade between Romans and Dacs, were found.
On Church Street and Amphora, and on the hill Shatetsia, the Roman imperial coins.
Except them, found also Dacia and Alania graves and jewelry.
In the 14th century, Armenians located in Iasi. The Armenian Saint Church of the Dipara, constructed in 1395, became not only the first church in the city, but also the first certificate on its existence.
The first mention of the city in the diploma privilege provided by Alexander Dobry to the Lviv merchants belongs to 1408.
By his invitation from Poland to Moldova in 1418, about 300 Armenian families, part of which lodged in Iasi, moved. In 1491, works on construction of the Church of Saint Nikolai, founded by Stephen the Great, began. In the 15th century, the first walls of the royal court of Iasi were constructed. From 1565 to 1862, Iasi were the capital of the Moldavian Principality. In Iasi there was a water for protection against aggressors.
With reunification of Moldova and Wallachia in 1859-1862, in Iasi was one or the other the governments of Romania.
In 1564, Alexander Lepeshnianu transferred the capital and the religious center from Suceava to Iasi. Since then, the religious center of Moldova was moved. Princes of Moldova were crowned in St. Nikolai's Church since then. Vasil Lupiu, Moldova, constructed church of 3 prelates in Iasi. It was consecrated by Varlam, the Metropolitan Moldavian, and also to Kazny, the first book in Romanian. Later the Metropolitan de Sofia prints in Iasi books in Romanian. Viata si Petri Sirius Finteler, Molotalnik Dienels. The same year the city was burned by Ottomans, Mongol Tatars and Russians. In 1643, Piet Mogila, the Metropolitan Kiev, called the Iasi Synod, in which the principles of belief which could interfere with distribution of Calvinism in the Orthodox states were discussed. In 1711, in Iasi, Moldavian Dmitry Cantemir swore on faithfulness of Russia. The same year it founded Royal Academy,
Domnesky Academy.
Since 1785, before in 1787 the wars in Iasi, there was the Russian Vice-Consul Major Ivan Lavrentievich Solunsky. In 1792, upon completion of war, in Iasi the Russian consulate in Moldova, Wallachia and Bessarabia, which was headed by Ivan Severin, was located. In the 19th century, many Iasi cultural institutions were constructed. Mikoliansky Academy, the most known educational institution in Moldova of the first half of the 19th century, it was replaced with the Iasi University.
In 1916-1918, in Iasi there was a government of Romania maintaining the allied relations with the Entente.
Bucharest was occupied by the Austrian troops. Also in the city there was a headquarters of the Russian-Romanian front, from where in 1918 went to the well-known campaign of Iasi, Don White Guard group of the Colonel M. G. Drozdovsky. In 1941 the city endured one of the most bloody riots in the history of the Jewish people.
In 1944 the city became the arena of heavy fighting between the coming Red Army and the Romanian German troops during Iași-Chișinăuți operation, as a result of which it was partially destroyed.
By July of the same year the city was occupied by the Soviet troops. Jews since 18th century made a considerable part, and periodically in most of the population of the city. In Iasi there was a first Jewish theatre playing in Yiddish. During World War II the most part of the Jewish population was deported in Transnistria and there died. Almost all survived in post-war years were repatriated to Israel. In the period of communistic board the administrative center Iasi developed. Then many plants which became industrial a complex were constructed.
Today Iasi, one of the main cultural, scientific and historic centers of Romania.
In the city there is a set of historical monuments, such as Iasi University, Palace of Culture, Cathedral St. Paraskev, ancient churches, various museums and recreation centers. Culture. The city of Iasi was one of the Armenian cultural centers outside historical Armenia. In the 14th, 16th centuries medieval Armenian manuscripts which are in Matanodorana, handwritten storages of Order of Mkhitarist in Vienna, Venice, the State Archive Cluj-Napoca today were stored in the Saint Church of the Birthgiver of God. In Iasi the poet, the author of Tagakoptokotsi created. The most representative cultural building Iasi Palace of Culture. A palace called sometimes by a city symbol was built on ruins of the former Royal Palace of Moldova, in 1906-1925, on the project of the architect I.N.D. Burendi and by order of the King of Romania Ferdinand. In days of the monarchy and during the communistic period the tribunal was placed here. Today in it there are 4 museums. Museum of History of Moldova, Museum of Art, Ethnographic Museum and Museum of Mechanics. Palace chiming clock plays each hour, chorus of association. It is written by Vasil Alexandri and Alexander Fleetenmaker. Other site, the Kopa Park where there is Eminescu's Linden. On a legend, Mihai Eminescu walked near it when wanted to get inspiration for the masterpieces.
In the Kopa Park there are monuments to a great number of poets and writers and also the Obelisk of Lions, the first public monument of the Moldavian Principality before association.
The first theatre of Romania was created in Iasi in Kopa. Later the building of theatre burned down. Another theatre, the National Theatre of Vasil Alexandri which is opposite to Iasi Philharmonic Hall was created. Between Cathedral de St. Paraskev and National Theatre settles down the beautiful esplanade.
Cathedral Sacred Paraskev and Church of Three Prelates, the significant religious cultural centers of Romania.
In church there were hallows Sacred Paraskev before their moving to cathedral.
The monastery of Three Prelates is known for the Iasi walls and the Gothic hall where in 1643 there passed the Iasi Cathedral which was headed by Piet Mogila.
Religion. Most of the believing inhabitants of Iasi are Orthodox Christians. Iasi, the center of the Moldavian and Bukovina metropole. The Russian Old Belief Church of the Assumption Works. Monasteries. Monastery of the Galatian. 1582-1584. Monastery Frumosa. 1586. Monastery of Three Prelates. 1635. Monastery Podgorica, 1638. Monastery Golia, 1650-1660. Monastery Shtetsia, 1668-1672. Monastery Bucum, 1853. Education. Former Mikołański Academy. In 1711, by order of the Trikantamir in the city of Iasi, the Royal Academy was founded. In Iasi, more than 10 universities, 20 lyceums, 40 schools and 50 kindergartens function. The first educational institution Iasi was founded in 1835 and called Mikołański Academy, in honor of the Moldavian governor Michael Sturz. In 1859 to Alexander Iancuza, the first governor of Romania, founded in Iasi Purvi in Romania the university which bears his name today. On the place of Mikołański Academy in 1900 the National College of Mihai Sadoveanu, where Michael Sadoveanu, Teofil Semensky, Nicolae Jorg, Filaret Scriban, Semyon Bernutzi, Kalistrat Hogish, Keratin Tiktin and Ionel Teodorianu studied, in particular, was created. Higher educational institutions of Iasi. The Iasi Technical University of Georgiasaki. Iasi University. National College. National College of K. Negruzi. National College of Naini. National College of Mihai Eminescu. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.